Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 kill team video where today I'm going over the updated rules of the Brood Brother kill team. But before we get into things, thanks goes to Games Workshop for providing these to review for free. And remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you think of these reviews and the updated changes. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below for free, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And while we get into it, remember everything you hear on screen is correct. All the stuff you see is stuff I've written down, and it's usually in abridged wording because the wording's too long from what Games Workshop's written. But what I say is correct. That everything you see on screen is stuff I've created. So there may be some errors, but the audio is correct. So let's get on with the review. So for the roster, your archetypes are Infiltration and Security. What's that? No Seek and Destroy? What a shame! You're also down to 2 archetypes, which makes sense. It's pretty much the same. Every kill team now has 2 archetypes. From your operative list, you must select 1 commander and then 9 other Brood Brother operatives and then 3 more. But you have to take your commander either with a bolt pistol and chainsword, auto gun and bayonet, or las pistol, power weapon and claw. And you always take the power weapon and claw. Then you can take the agitator, 4 different gunners, icon ward, knife fighter, medic, sapper, sniper, veteran, trooper and vox operator. And you can only have no more than 3 of these operatives. So you can have 2 gunners and a sniper, or 3 gunners. And then you can either select 2 psychic familiars, which counts as 1 selection, a magus, which counts as 2, a patriarch, which counts as 3, or a primus, which counts as 2, or a trooper for each. But then you have another option. Let's say you didn't buy that expansion. For each trooper, you don't take, so each single operative for your 3 Brood Brother extra operatives, you can select 1 ploy, so either firefight or strategy ploy, to cost you 0 CP for the game. So let's say if you didn't buy the Wormblade Commander, whatever, and you only had the box, you could have 1 Brood Brother with 9 operatives and then 3 ploys for the game. Note, you can't do this if you've selected the Patriarch, so you can't say, I'm sacrificing the Patriarch for 2, so you're basically still limited because it says, you can do this up to 3 times. Instead of selecting 1 of these operatives, you can select 1 Brood Brother ploy to cost you 0 CP for the battle. Note that counts as selection still applies. For example, if you select a Patriarch operative, you could not do this. So effectively, if you don't take 3 troopers, you get 3 ploys. You will never do this. It's really bad. You've lost all your interference stuff, which is good for everyone else. Really bad for Brood Brother players. But those abilities were kind of crazy. So the team's been reined in quite a bit. And effectively, it's not really a 1-box team. You have to buy those other pieces. So this team is quite expensive. So for the faction rules, you have crossfire. So whenever a friendly operative is shooting against or fighting against an enemy operative, not retaliating, after resolving all your attack dice, if that enemy operative is incapacitated, they gain 1 of your crossfire tokens. And then whenever a friendly operative is fighting, shooting, or retaliating against an enemy operative that has 1 of your crossfire tokens, you can remove any of those tokens. And for each that you do, you can reroll 1 of your attack dice. So otherwise, completely unchanged. Rerolls everywhere. So for strategy ploys, you have pervasive. So during each friendly Brood Brother operative's activation, you can ignore the first vertical distance of 2 inches they move during 1 climb. Unchanged there really, but it doesn't count for dropping. Then you've got uprising. So the first time each friendly Brood Brother operative performs either the shoot or fight action during each of its activations, if its order was changed from conceal to engage at the start of that activation, the enemy operative selected as a valid target for the fight against it gains 1 of your crossfire tokens as soon as it's selected instead of after resolving your attack dice. This ploy has no effect if that friendly operative was activated within control range of enemy operatives, which is a huge change. Note that this ploy cannot come to effect more than once per activation, so you cannot use the rerolls. You cannot generate the rerolls if you fight and then shoot, or shoot and then fight. And then the other big change is you can't do while in control range. So now if you charge 2 Brood Brother operatives and the other one switches to engage, they don't benefit from that. So that's a nice counterplay for the opponent. Then you've got embedded. Whenever an enemy operative is shooting a friendly Brood Brother operative, if you can retain any cover saves as a result of heavy terrain, you can retain 1 additional cover save. This is okay, but I don't think you'll be really using it that much or at all. Then you've got Cult Devotion. Whenever a friendly operative, excluding the Patriarch, is incapacitated while fighting or retaliating, if you have any unresolved attack dice, you can roll 1d6. If the result is a success, as if it were the roll attack dice step of that sequence, i.e. using the same weapon but with no rerolls, you can strike the enemy operative in that sequence with one of your unresolved normal successes, or any of your successes instead if the D6 result was a critical success. In either case, that friendly operative is removed from the kill zone afterwards. So this is a weird situational ploy, because this team is not good at melee and you only have a few good melee operatives, and the Patriot can't even do the fight on death. So it's not even just a fight or death. If you have any unresolved successes, you roll to hit, then if you hit, you can strike, and then if you roll a crit, you can strike with any of your hits, i.e. if you still have an unresolved crit. It's okay, but I don't think you will be ever using Cult Devotion either. Maybe into a melee team if you're desperate, but I don't think it's an efficient use of points. Well, command points. Then for Firefight Ploys, you've got Ruthless Coordination. Use this Firefight Ploy when selecting a valid target for a friendly Brood Brother operative. Until the end of that action, determine visibility as normal, but you can instead determine the intervening for cover and obscured from another friendly Brood Brother operative that is both a friendly operative and a potential valid target is visible to, but that it isn't self within control range of that enemy operative. Note that the friendly operative doesn't gain the additional benefit of advantage if the other operative is on it, i.e. to the target, the enemy operative has a conceal order that isn't in covered provided by light terrain. So what this basically means is it works exactly as before. There's a nice diagram, which I can't show you. You'll see it when the rules come out. But effectively, it works the same as before. When you're shooting with an operative, you pick another operative to draw your targeting lines from. And if you're on a vantage point when you're shooting with, when you use Ruthless Coordination, the person you're aiming with on the ground floor also benefits from the vantage rule, but not if they're on a vantage point. It's just weird. It's fine. It's a broken, very broken ploy, but considering the team has been toned down quite a bit, I think it's fine. Then you've got Unquestioning Loyalty. So use this Firefight Ploy when a friendly Brood Brother leader operative is selected as a valid target of a shoot action to fight against it during the fight action or as a shooting target. Select one other friendly Brood Guard operative, excluding a leader, visible and within 3 inches of that leader operative become the valid target, or to be fought against as appropriate instead, even if it wouldn't normally be a valid target. If it's the fight action, treat that other operative as an engagement range, well, in control range for the duration of that fight, and it has no effect on shoot actions with the blast and torrent special rule. So it's just get down, Mr. President. It's unchanged. It's still very, very good. Then you've got Idolization. Use this Firefight Ploy when a friendly operative, excluding a leader within 6 inches of a friendly leader or icon ward operative, is shooting, fighting, or retaliating in the roll attack dice step. You can retain one of your fails as a normal success instead of discarding it, or retain one of your normal successes as a crit instead. Unchanged, very, very good. So usually instead of spending a CP to reroll, you can spend a CP to ensure a hit or a crit. Then you have Insidious. Use this Firefight Ploy after an activation. Before the next activation, you can perform a free dash action with one friendly operative as long as it's not a valid target for an enemy operative when it starts and ends that action. So this is unchanged, but now you have to be a valid target. So remember, being a valid target is if you have an engage order, or you're not a valid target when you have a conceal order while within control range of cover. But it's still the same. It's still very, very good. So after an opponent activates, you can potentially spend a CP to dash someone into range. You can then charge or move and shoot. So it's very, very good Firefight Ploys. For the operatives, you have the Brood Brother Commander, who has 2 APL, 6-inch move, 5 up save, and 8 wounds. This is the standard profile with +1 wound, because everyone else has 7 wounds. Your leader has 8. It can have a bolt pistol, which is 4 taxing on freeze, 3/4 range 8. A drum-fed autogun, which is 4 taxing on freeze, 2/3 ceaseless. A las pistol, which is 4 taxing on freeze, 2/3 range 8. A bayonet, which is 3 taxing on freeze, 2/3. A chainsword and claw, which is 4 taxing on freeze, 4/5 balanced rending. And then a power weapon and claw, which is 4 taxing on freeze, 4/6 balanced lethal 5 up. Personally, you always go power weapon and claw because it's 4/6 balanced with lethal 5 up, whereas the chainsword just has balanced and rending, and you're doing way more damage with the power weapon. Then you've got Coordinate. As a strategic gambit, select one enemy operative to gain one of your crossfire tokens. So this has been buffed. Before it had to be someone visible. Now you just pick someone. So your leader has been buffed overall, which is good. Then you have the Agitator, who has 7 wounds. It has a shock maul, which is 4 taxing on 4s, 4/4 shock. It has devoted, so once per turning point when this operative is fighting or retaliating in the roll attack dice step, you can ignore the damage inflicted on it from 1 normal success, so that's unchanged. Then it has Siren Caster. Whenever a friendly operative is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an enemy operative within 6 inches of the operative, you can reroll one of your attack dice. So this before, it used to give them a free crossfire token. Now it just gives you a free reroll which is easier and better. Then you have the gunner, who can either have a flamer, which is 4 attacks in on 2s, 3/3 range 8 saturate torrent 2, grenade launcher frag, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 2/4 blast 2, crack, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 4/5 piercing 1, a melter gun, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 6/3 range 6 devastating 4 piercing 2, a plasma gun standard, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 4/6 piercing 1, and then supercharged, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 5/6 hot lethal 5 up piercing 1, and then a bayonet, which is 3 attacks hitting on 4s, 2/3. So for the gunner, you're generally taking the plasma gun and melter gun all the time. And you do have to consider going hot with your plasma gunner because it's got a 50% chance to take 8 to 2 damage. Well, 6 to 2 damage and then just be useless. But, you know, you've got your Cult Devotion to force a crit or hit, so it's fine. But you're always taking the plasma and melter and maybe the frag. Well, the grenade launcher. Then you've got the Icon Ward, who has a large knife, which is 4 attacks in on 4s, 3/5. It's got Cult Icon, so whenever determining control of a marker within 6 inches of this operative, treat the APL stat of all your Blue Brother operatives contesting it as 1 higher if at least 1 friendly operative is contesting that marker. No, it isn't a change in the APL stat, so you can modify it with other modifiers, so unchanged. Then you've got Broodmind Devotion. Once per turning point, when a friendly operative is incapacitated within 6 inches of the operative, you can use this rule. If you do, before the operative is removed from the kill zone, it can perform 1 free action excluding fight or mind control, and you can change its order to do so. Then it's removed from the kill zone as normal. You cannot use this rule and the medic rule on the same operative at the same time. So the only change with your icon is that your sapper can still use its unique action. That might change with the day 1 FAQ, but we'll see. Otherwise, your icon ward is unchanged. Arguably, both its abilities should be actions, or at least require visibility, because you can hide the Brood Brother icon ward behind a wall, and then it can, like, with its mind powers, they're not seeing the icon, but they can sense it. Regardless, it's very good. Then you've got the Knife Fighter, who is poisoned fighting knives, which are 4 attacks hitting on 3s, 3/4, ceaseless lethal 5 up. So Assassin, this operative can perform the charge action while it has a conceal order and counterattack. So whenever this operative is fighting or retaliating, whenever an opponent resolves a normal success, inflict 1 damage on the enemy operative in that sequence. Unchanged. Ceaseless has been buffed, so technically this operative is better, but it was already good. Then you've got the Medic, who also has a Gene Needler on top of its lasgun and bayonet. So the Gene Needler is 1 attack, hitting on 4s, 5/7, lethal 5 up limited, unchanged. It's then got the Medic ability, so the first time during the turning point that another friendly operative is incapacitated, excluding the Patriarch, would be removed from the kill zone as incapacitated while visible and within 3 inches of this operative. You can use this rule, providing neither that or the operative is within control range of enemy operatives. If you do, that friendly operative isn't incapacitated and has 1 wound remaining. That friendly operative can then immediately perform a free dash action, but must end that move within this operative's control range. Then you subtract 1 from this and that operative's APL stats until the end of their next activations respectively. And if this rule was used during that friendly operative's activation, that activation ends. You cannot use this rule if this operative is incapacitated. So this has been changed slightly. Before you could dash in general, like an inch or closer, like an inch or so. Now you have to dash so you end within control range. So this is quite more restrictive, but still very good. Then you've got the medkit action. Heal someone within its control range 2d3. You can't use it on someone that was revived this turn with the medic ability, but you can now heal someone else. So if you revive someone, you could heal someone else, which before you couldn't do. And you can't do this while in control range. Then you've got the Sapper, who has demolition charges, which are 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4/6, range 3, blast 2, heavy reposition only, limited 1, piercing 1, saturate. So this has been nerfed. Thank goodness it has been, because it was crazy. It's still 4/6, which is very good. Well, I think it was 5/6 before. So it's 4/6, it only has a 3-inch range, and it can only be combined with a reposition. So basically has a threat range of about 8 inches, so way easier to avoid. And then it's got a bayonet. It's got Final Defiance. So if this operative is incapacitated, it can perform a free explosives unique action before removed from the kill zone. It's a Grenadier. So this operative can use frag and crack grenades, and it doesn't count towards your equipment, and it counts as like not using those if you select them. And it gets +1 to hit, so it hits on freeze with its frag and crack, which is nice. And then you've got the explosives ability. So the first time this operative performs this action during the battle, place your explosive markers within its control range. The second time this operative performs this action during the battle, inflict 2d6 damage on each operative within 2 inches of that marker. Roll separately for each, unless heavy terrain is wholly intervening between that operative and that marker. And you cannot perform this action more than twice per battle while within control range of enemy operative, or during the same activation in which it performed the charge, dash, or fallback action. And obviously you can't do this action twice. You can't do explosives because you can't repeat the same action more than once unless otherwise specified. But you do have a unique interaction where if you die as a result and you're within range of the icon ward, you can use the icon ward's ability, like if you're not in combat, to plant on death, and then you can do the final defiance to blow itself up. But it is quite limiting to do, and it's why I say you just ignore the explosive action, especially as you can't do it after charging, dashing, or falling back. So it's very limiting, but otherwise your sapper is very good. Then you've got the sniper, who has a sniper rifle that's either concealed, mobile, or stationary, and then it has fists, which are 3 attacks in on force 2-3. So their concealed profile is 4 attacks in on 2s, 3-3, devastating 3, heavy, silent, concealed position. Concealed position, you can only use this profile once per game. Then you have mobile, which is 4 attacks in on 3s, 3-4, and then you have stationary, which is 4 attacks in on 2s, 3-3, devastating 3, heavy. It's okay. You now can't dash and shoot with it, which means it's really bad. And you're probably not taking the sniper rifle. So in that regard, you're probably taking the grenade launcher, the plasma, and the melter gun, which is overall a better choice than your sniper personally. Some people love the sniper. Maybe last edition it was good. This edition it's not great. Then you've got your trooper as a lasgun and bayonet, and it has, well, lasgun is 4 attacks in on force 2-3, and it has group activation. So effectively, once you activate a trooper, you then activate with another trooper, and you can only do this twice. So you, in terms of, you can't just keep activating troopers, you can only activate 2 troopers in a row. So it's group activation 2. Your troopers are unchanged, and you probably never take them now. Then you've got the Brood Brother Veteran, who has a combat shotgun, close range, and long range. So the close range profile is 4 attacks in on 3s, 4-4, range 6. Long range is 4 attacks in on 5s, 2-2. Then there's Bayonet and Claw, which is 3 attacks in on 4s, 2-3, balanced. Has resilience, so normal damage of 3 or more inflicts 1 less damage on this operative, which is good. Before I had a 5-up feel no pain. This is a nerf, but it's a nice trade-off. Then you've got Bodyguard. You can use the Unquestioning Loyalty Firefight ploy for 0 CP if this specified is the friendly Brood Guard operative. So you always take the Veteran because it's a get down Mr. President for free, which is really good. He is a lot less durable, but he also does have a shotgun, so he's still really good. Then you have the Vox Operator, who has a lasgun and bayonet. It has the signal action, so basically the comms action, so you select someone else visible within 6 to get +1 APL. And then you've got the jam action, so it's 1 AP or 2 AP. So select one ready enemy operative that's a valid target for this operative, or visible to this operative instead if you spend 1 additional action point. Roll 1d6. Until the end of the turning point, that enemy operative cannot be activated or perform actions until it's the last enemy operative to be activated, or until your opponent has activated a number of enemy operatives after this activation equal to, well, after the result of this action, equal to the result of 1d6, whichever comes first, and you can't do it while in control range. So if you wanted to, your comms can go +1 APL jam, or if you don't want to, you can just jam someone in general, which is a good ploy into elites. Otherwise, your comms is very, very good, and it's weird other comms can't just like scream nonsense to jam other operatives, but it's fine. Then you've got your Psychic Familiars, who are 2 APL, 6-inch move, 5-up save, 3 wounds. They have claws, which are 3 attacks in on force 2-3 rending. It's small, so it cannot use any weapons unless they're on their data card, or perform unique actions. Whenever this operative is in cover, it cannot be selected as a valid target, and it can do the fallback action for 1 less AP, so as Super Conceal. It's group activation, so you have to group activate it with another Psychic Familiar, so that's good. And then you've got Elusive. This operative can perform mission actions while within control range of enemy operatives, taking precedence of other actions and conditions. And it can move through enemy operatives and move within their control range of them. And during the charge action, it can leave their control range, but it must still end the following requirements of that move, so it has to end somewhere legal. So your Psychic Familiars are very, very good. They have Super Conceal. They can do mission actions in close combat, and oh, can someone hear that? It sounds like a phone because I called it. I called that Elusive has the same wording in the last edition, because I knew you couldn't do mission actions in control range, engagement range. So I'm just happy I caught that. I'm very smug, but Psychic Familiars are great. You're usually taking 2. They're very, very good. Then you've got the Magus, who has 3 APL, 6-inch move, 4-up save, and 9 wounds. Has an auto pistol, which is 4 attacks in on force 2-3. And then a Bio Dagger, which is, well, range 8. And then a Bio Dagger, which is 2 attacks in on force 3-6, lethal 4-up. A Force Stave, which is 4 attacks in on force 4-6, Psychic Shock. It's a spiritual leader, so whenever this operative is in the kill zone, whenever an operative is shooting at a friendly operative, you can ignore the piercing weapon rule, which is crazy. You can ignore any changes to a friendly Brood Brother operative stats from being injured, and you can ignore any APL stats to changes to any Brood Brother operative. So it's effectively unchanged. Very, very good. Then you've got the Psychic telepathic overload action. It's a psychic action. Select one enemy operative visible to this operative until the end of the operative's next activation. Subtract 1 from the APL. Can't do it while in control range. And then you've got mental onslaught for 1 action point. Select one enemy operative that's a valid target for this operative. Inflict 2 damage on it, or 4 instead if it's within 6 inches of this operative. Then roll 1d6. If the result is higher than that enemy's operative's APL stat, inflict an additional 2 damage on it, or 4 inches if it's within 6 inches of this operative. Keep rolling 1d6 in this manner until you roll equal to or less than the APL, or until it's incapacitated, or until you've inflicted 8 damage on it during this action, whichever comes first, and you can't do it while in control range. So it's still really good. No change there. It's a nice flex piece depending on what you're taking. Then you've got the Patriarch, who has 4 APL, 6-inch move, 4-up save, and 21 wounds. It's got claws, which are 5 attacks, 8 on freeze, 5-6 relentless and rending. It's got the Alpha Predator rule, so whenever an operative is shooting this operative, ignore the piercing weapon rule. You can activate this operative twice during the turning point as long as it has AP to spend on it. It stays ready while it can still be activated a second time. Per turning point, it cannot move more than 9 inches, and you cannot spend more than 4 APL on it. So as per the FAQ last edition, you could choose to spend 0 APL and then spend, 0 AP, and then activate it again to spend 4 AP. Very, very good. Remember, it still can't move more than 9 inches, so you can't like move and dash and then go next activation I charge. But you could charge 6 inches, kill someone, then pass, and then charge another 2 inches, and then fight again. So there are ways around it. You just have to remember how to do math. Then you've got Monster. This operative cannot use any weapons that aren't on its data card or perform unique actions, excluding Intershadow and Mind Control. Whenever your opponent is selecting a valid target, if this operative has a conceal order, it cannot use light terrain as cover, but it can still claim it as cover. So unchanged there. Then you've got Intershadow. Change this operative's order. You can't do while in control range. And then you've got Mind Control. So this has changed. So it's 2 action points as a psychic action. Select one enemy operative visible and within 2 inches of this operative. Both players roll 1d6 and add their APL stats to it. If your total is higher than your opponent, then you can resolve the second point. Until the end of that activation, the enemy operative is a valid operative. An enemy operative for your opponent. You can change its order and can immediately perform 1 free action. It cannot perform an action in which it moves other than the dash, in which case you specify the location it moves to the opponent. And you can only revolve this second effect once per battle. So you cannot do this while in control range. But now if you fail, you can reattempt the action again. So you effectively you will only really realistically get it once per game. But now if you fail, you can try again next turning point. Or if you somehow like activated Mind Control and failed, you can try and hope the operative stays then activate your Patriarch again to try and Mind Control. But if you succeed, then you can only use the Mind Control once. So that's a slight change. The operative used to hit on 2s, it now hits on 3s, but it was like the only operative to keep relentless. So the Patriarch has been slightly nerfed in melee, but buffed in terms of its Mind Control. So overall, it's technically a win. Then you've got the Primus, who has 3 APL, a 6-inch move, 4-up save, and 9 wounds. Has the Scope Needle Pistol short range, which is 4 attacks in on freeze, 2-4, range 8, lethal 5-up, silent. Long range, which is 4 attacks in on freeze, 2-4 silent, and then a Bone Sword and Toxin Injector Claw, which is 5 attacks in on freeze, 4-5 lethal 5-up rending. It has been nerfed. It used to hit on 2s, now it hits on freeze. That's a general change that I, for once, am really happy for. That's great. Then you've got first Fist of the Patriarch, Fist of the North Star. This operative can either perform 2 shoot actions or 2 fight actions during its activation, which is unchanged, and Mastermind is unchanged. Once per turning point, after rolling off to decide initiative, if this operative is in the kill zone, you can do one of the following: add 1 to your dice result, or if you didn't have initiative in the previous turning point, you can reroll your defense. You can reroll your initiative dice. Unchanged, still really, really good. And then Conspire. For 1 action point, you gain 1 CP. You can only perform this action once per turning point and not within control range. It's actually been buffed because you had to be more than 3 inches from enemy operatives. Technically, the Primus has got worse, but it's still a great support piece, so it's still good. And most of the time, you are taking the Primus because it allows you to dictate the flow of battle in terms of who has initiative or not. So it's really, really good. Then you come to the faction equipment. So you've got the Cult Talisman. So once per turning point, when an operative is shooting a friendly brood by the operative excluding the Patriarch, in the roll defense dice step, you can retain one of your normal successes as a crit success, which is really good. You're generally taking this because it applies to everyone, even your leaders apart from the Patriarch. Then you've got Covert Guises. After revealing this equipment option, roll 1d3. As a strategic gambit in the first turning point, a number of friendly Brood Brother operatives equal to the result of that dice roll that are wholly within your drop zone can immediately perform a free reposition action, but must end that move wholly within 4 inches of your drop zone. So it has been nerfed, which is good. Before it was automatically free, but you do decide in advance because you roll for it when equipment is revealed. So it's before you deploy, so you can decide, but you can't go into every game going, I'm going to get free dashes. You're probably only going to get 1 or 2, sometimes usually 1. So it's still an auto include, but it's less good. Then you've got Cult Knives. All friendly operatives, Brood Guard operatives, have the following melee weapons. A Cult Knife, which is 3 attacks, hit on 4 is 3/4. You always take this. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, I guess into shooty teams, but those are usually teams you could kill with these knives. Then you've got Lookout, which really annoys me. Strategic Gambit. Select one enemy operative visible to a friendly Brood Brother operative to gain one of your crossfire tokens. This should be once per game, but it isn't, so you always take this. So equipment-wise, you're basically taking all of these. I mean, you may drop the Cult Talisman or Cult Knives or something, but Lookout is a legit automatic include with no downside. Like, it's not even like you roll a D3, and then if it's equal to or like higher than the turning point, you get to do Lookout, or it only works during turning point 1 and 2. No, you just free crossfire tokens. It's fine, whatever. For operative selection for this kill team, you are only going to build one commander with a power weapon and claw. So that's all you need to worry about, and that's what you will always take. For the other operatives, so unfortunately this is never going to be a one-box team. So you need, before I get into all the operatives, unfortunately you will need the Brood Brother box, then 5 Cadians, and then you will also need to buy the Genestealer Cult Command box, which has the Patriarch, the Primus, the Magus, and the 2 Psychic Familiars. So unfortunately, if you want to be competitive with this kill team, it's going to be very expensive. And you have to if you want to play this team, which is unfortunate. Because you get 9 other Brood Brother operatives to build, but you kind of want to flex. So for example, you want to build the Agitator, you want to build your 3 Gunners, so that's 4 operatives, you want to build the Icon Ward, which is 5, you want to build the Knife Fighter, the Medic, the Sapper, the Veteran, and the Vox Operator, which is 10. You probably want to build the Sniper just in case, which is 11. And you may want to build 2 more Troopers. So that's an addition, that's 13. So including your commander, that's 14 operatives. So you basically need another box of Cadian, like half a box of Cadians, which is unfortunate, but it does give you the tools to tick around with. But in my opinion, you always go Agitator. Then you'd get a Grenade Launcher Gunner, Melter Gun Gunner, Plasma Gun Gunner. Then you've got the Icon Ward, the Knife Fighter, the Medic, and the Sapper. And then you're probably taking the Vox Operator. You know, you're probably dropping someone for the Veteran, but it's like, I guess into Elites, I would probably drop the Knife Fighter for the Veteran, just because the Veteran gives you more pieces. But to be clearer, generally, if I was taking this team, I would take the Commander, then I would take the Agitator, 3 Gunners, so that puts you on 5 operatives. Then I would take the Icon Ward, the Medic, because I like the healing ability it offers. Then you take the Veteran, the Vox Operator, and then usually probably the Knife Fighter as well. But you can drop that around. It's fine. Like, that's the best loadout. I would never take the Sniper. I think the Sniper's so bad now. But it's situationally good, but it can only fire silent once. It's just not great. And then most of the time you're taking the Primus with 2 Psychic Familiars. But into stuff like melee teams, you'll definitely want the Magus with the 2 Psychic Familiars. And sometimes maybe into Elites. I think I still prefer the Primus into Elites. But the Patriarch, the problem with the Patriarch now into Elites, all Elites are 14 wounds. So it's going to be a struggle for the Patriarch to reliably kill a Marine in one combat, especially when they start taking like the dedicated melee operatives. But you still want the Patriarch, I think, into Elites, because you kind of have to. You need... Like, the Patriarch will kill an Elite over 2 fight actions. It's just it can't do those 2 fight actions in one activation. But it's really good at just, like, weakening stuff for your team to kill, or quickly killing stuff that's been weakened by the rest of your team, which you can do. And I would never drop your Troopers to take free strategic ploys. Just don't do that. So for the Brood Brother overview, they have been nerfed quite a bit, but they're still very, very good. Unfortunately, if you didn't get Kill Team Termination, like the last box, this Kill Team is now very expensive to get. And there's no way around that, unfortunately. Like, you could magnetize the Gunners, But even then, you're going to need to spend like £45 on a kill team and buy like their £50 command entourage, which is a bitter pill to swallow. Like, for the benefit of everyone else, they're no longer super toxic to play, but they're still really good. Like, they're still really good, but I think they're much harder to play, which is good for everyone else. I think they're in a much better spot than they were at the end of the edition for the last edition, because they were way too strong, averaging like a 60% win rate, like smashing events and stuff. They're still crazy with their ploy to just choose targeting lines from other friendly operatives. So they still have really powerful shooting, but this team is now far more vulnerable in close combat and can be much more easily overwhelmed, which they've tried to mitigate that with some of their strategy ploys and giving everyone coat knives. But if you have to keep in mind your melee operatives are basically just your agitator kinda, and then your knife fighter, and that's it. Then you've got like either your patriarch or your primus. So you have to really watch out for teams like mandrakes, because once mandrakes get close, they just murder this team. So you have to really watch out for melee teams, but you will generally win shooting matches because you've got your medic, you've got your icon ward, and you've got your veteran doing like get down Mr. President to basically mess up people trying to win you in a shooting match. The only problem you have to watch out for is if your opponent just decides to go like, you know what, I'm just going to run into your face and punch you really, really hard a lot, which I think is a good weakness. And you're probably always going to play infiltration. Like, one thing you could do is do infiltration with the psychic familiars and select gather surveillance, and that will probably max you, which will be really, really good, which is a strong thing. And you can do security quite well, trying to force people back. The only problem is you don't have that counter punch, so I don't think security is as great, but you could do stuff like playing with secure center, so that's pretty good. But they're a lot harder to play, a lot fairer to play into, and they're no longer as overpowered as they were. So overall, I think they're a good spot. They're definitely weaker, but still very powerful, so don't underestimate them. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you like the guide, and what do you think of the changes? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a affiliate link Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the career, I have Tom, Supercow, Stephen, Sam, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Mercenary Q, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Fangsu, Dave Meatswell, Dad of Goldens, Chris, and then for my veterans of the career, I have Sandra and Ryan. So thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, Brood Brothers, I still have a deep hatred for what they did last edition, because my gosh, they're crazy. But, you know, they've lost all their interference stuff. They're a really expensive team to get into. So I think they've paid the penance of these last 4 months. It's unfortunate, but they're still very, very good. So I wouldn't underestimate them. They're just quite difficult to play, which I think is good. You have to be a good player to get the most out of them. But remember, no matter how much you're being overwhelmed by crossfire tokens, there's always a chance to win, as long as you can roll a crit.